Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to give a story titled, My Family is Upset Because I'm Prioritizing My Brother-in-Law Over My Niece and My Sister After She Cheated. And a big shout out to Damien for sending me this story this morning. And guys, what we have here is a situation where this guy, the brother, he finds out that his sister and brother-in-law, that their child is really not the brother-in-law's, that the sister had been having a secret affair for years, and this child is a result of it. And you're gonna see here the crazy way that this is all found out and all the things that go on with this. I mean, it's literally like something that you might see in a daytime TV show. You know the kinds I'm talking about. Crazy type of stories. And this guy, he is, instead of siding with his sister, who is obviously a complete and total B word and W word or garden tool, he's sticking with the brother-in-law because this guy's a really good guy, and it's his sister who's obviously in the wrong. And his family and his sister are pissed off because he's choosing the side of the brother-in-law, who's a good guy, versus his scumbag sister. Okay, there's all this drama here. And what I like about this, guys, is a perfect lesson how, you know, there's that old saying that blood is thicker than water, and the idea that you got to stick with your family no matter what, thick and thin, all that. And I call bullshit on that. I say if you got a lousy family or you got rotten family members, why the hell should you be loyal to them when they're walking, talking pieces of human garbage? You know what I mean? Why would you do that? Versus somebody that, if there was a choice between the family or someone that wasn't family, but they were a truly, genuinely good, kind person, choose the good, kind person, even if that person is not your family member, okay? But this idea of sticking with family no matter what, I think that's nonsense, okay? Because there's probably not one person watching this video right now, man or woman, I got plenty of people watching me, that doesn't have at least one family member that's a complete jackass, that they cannot stand. Or in some cases are complete and total scumbags, right? And how many times have you heard those sayings, you gotta stick with them no matter what? Well, I think that's bullshit, okay? I got no use for family members that are complete assholes. Okay, none. And this guy, he does what he feels is right, and he knows is right by sticking with the brother-in-law as a good guy and basically not choosing the side of the sister. So, in my opinion, guys, it's always best to choose the right people and ditch people in your life that are toxic or cause problems or scumbags, even if it's family. So, but anyhow, guys, I'm going to get more to the story here. As it starts off, my sister Mary, a 27-year-old female, met her husband Tom, 29-year-old male, when she was attending college out of state, and he was stationed near her campus in the Army. So we got a Army guy who's with a girl, and you know how those stories usually go. Whenever the guy's not, he's stationed somewhere or he's abroad, what usually happens? After he got out, she dropped out of college so they could move into our home state at her request, so we've only been the family he has out here. Notice that. When he got out of the Army, and therefore then he can then obviously get a job and provide more, she dropped out of school. And they moved to her where she wanted to go. So what does that tell you about the guy? He allowed her to drop out, and it's all on him. So he's obviously the provider. And instead of going maybe where he wanted to go, he went to her home state. Again, a guy trying to please her. What happens, I'm reading between the lines, guys, what happens when guys give certain women, or well, let's be honest, all women, everything they want, and pretty much put them on the pedestal, and, you know, treat them like the queen? It doesn't end well, okay? Men, you gotta stand up for what you want. So I don't see this guy probably standing up for what he wanted. She dropped out of school. He's now what they call the beta male provider type, often like that. They moved to her home, where her family is, but obviously nobody that he knows. This is no doubt for her. He's the moneymaker. He should, obviously, because she dropped out, they should go where he wants to go. So that is a problem. I'm not saying her actions are justified, but I'm just saying some of the shit that gets guys into trouble. Anyhow, I got to throw lessons in here, guys. That's the point of my channel, to share stories and news articles, but also give advice and teach. Some guys get bent out of shape saying I talk too much or I interrupt the stories. That's my style. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. Anyhow, says here, they have a 3-year-old daughter named Jane. Not long ago, a guy, we'll call him Bill, reached out to Tom on Facebook and told him that he saw my sister as a 3-year-old kid and that there's a possibility that my niece may be his child. Imagine that guy getting that message out of the blue. Oh, by the way, your daughter is, that could be my child, by the way. Nice to meet you. What the hell? He and my sister apparently had been having an affair from the time they moved home until shortly after she found out that she was pregnant. He had to move away for work, and my sister never mentioned the pregnancy to him or that she was married. Ah, how nice. So this guy's, the sister, this guy's wife, the sister's hooking up with this dude, and this guy has no idea that she's married, okay? But, you know, guys, I have to wonder sometimes with these stories, you know, you have to notice that she's being very secretive about her life. Obviously, she wasn't as easily available as someone that's single, but for the sake of the story, the guy didn't know. And I hope this is true, he didn't know. And guys, I've said this before, do not knowingly hook up with women that are with other guys or married. That is absolutely not cool. We gotta stick together. There are guys that don't give a shit. It's just simply, in my view, completely not cool, a disgrace. I don't advocate that at all. Some guys don't care, but I'm against that. He says here, Tom confronted Mary, his sister, and eventually she admitted to the affair. 2 paternity tests later, it was confirmed my niece is not Tom's child. He has been devastated. Bill wants to be in Jane's life, but my sister and family are staunchly against this. They say Jane already has a dad, Tom. Well, Tom, the husband, finally growing a pair, and says, I'm not having anything to do with you. This ain't my kid. And you are a cheating W word. And the guy whose daughter this is, to no surprise, to make these stories interesting, he wants to be in her life. It goes on, Tom has been going to counseling since Biodad first reached out to him, and he just cannot see Jane the way he used to, or be around her or talk about her without breaking down. He says it hurts too much, and he feels like his life has been based on a lie. Nor can he really imagine staying in her life with Bill around. Yeah, I mean, this guy is obviously a good guy. I mean, I disagree, obviously, some of the things he's done or what I've connected the dots behind the scene, but he's a good guy. And he finds out this kid isn't his. I mean, that would just, I can't imagine what that would feel like. I'd feel like my heart was ripped out and stomped into a million pieces. You know, it's not the child's fault, but still, regardless, he's going to see her differently. And unfortunately, this girl, she saw him as her dad because she thought he was her dad. And nobody, you know, there are people that say, I would do this in this situation, or I would do that. At the end of the day, you don't know until you're in this situation. I can't say what I would do. I'd say, you know, you just don't know. But at the end of the day, everybody can agree who the villain is. It's the wife. She's a piece of trash. Anyway, he says, I've been letting Tom stay at my place since he has no family here. My sister thinks I'm out of line letting Tom stay, and I'm depriving my niece of her uncle. She doesn't want Jane here so long as I'm supporting Tom. Fair, I guess. And Tom has offered that he would go to a friend's or out if I wanted to babysit or spend time with my niece. Also fair. Well, this guy's a loyal brother-in-law because he realizes that this guy, the husband, Tom, is a good guy and his sister is a piece of trash. And as you can probably imagine, that's not very popular with his family. But a lot of people would choose her versus the brother-in-law and just say that the whole blood is thicker than water nonsense. He says, personally, I sympathize with Tom. He says, I'm not an affair baby, but my mother was pregnant with me when she met my sibling's father. He made this stipulation that he'd stick around, but my bio dad and bio family could not be around, and my mother agreed. Like I said, this is like something out of a daytime TV show. I want to know where they're from. Okay, I can think of certain states where jokes are made about these type of things happening fairly often. He goes on, he treated me differently once my sister and brothers were born, and even more so after he and my mother divorced. My paternal family reached out eventually, and I learned the truth. I got to know them. This pissed off my adopted dad to no end, and his family as well. Said it was a slap in the face. I would even want to know my other family. They were my family, and I was ungrateful of me to forsake all that. I don't want my niece to possibly go through that. Getting stuck between families is the worst. Well, this guy obviously, and he's throwing a little twist of his own background here while he's doing this, but he obviously, he knows what it's like. And he doesn't want his niece to go through this. And he obviously, in his situation, wanted to know who his family was, and his adopted family or stepdad's being pissed about it. But at the end of the day, guys, we got to do what's best for us. End of story. And when you do things, what's best for you, you're going to piss a lot of people off along the way. But if you go through your life doing things to make everybody else happy, Number one, that's never going to happen because you can't possibly make everybody else happy. But number two, you're going to make yourself miserable. You got to do what's best for you guys, but without really intentionally causing harm to others. That's my take. He says, so I've been helping Tom find out more about Bill and mediating between them when they talk. Bill seems like a real stand-up guy with positive people around him and wants to take my sister to court for custody, and the brother-in-law as well to get taken off the birth certificate. That should be interesting, getting the brother-in-law off the birth certificate, because this, how depending on the states, the laws and all that, because if this isn't his child, why should he be technically responsible? I mean, if he wants to help out the child because he thought this girl was his child for 3 years, that should be optional, not required by law. Because at the end of the day, the villain is the mother. And this guy, Bill, who the mother was hooking up with, who, let's just say for the sake of the story, didn't know that she was married. He obviously, from what the guy seems here, seems that he's a good guy. He didn't know. Anyhow, this just gets crazier and crazier. He says, I support both of them in these decisions and have offered to help if they need it. My sister is mad at me, but I have told her and our family that she should only be mad at herself. There you go. She's the cause of all these problems. But notice that they're making out about him. Again, women twisting things around and making everybody else be the bad guy but them. He says, none of this would have ever happened if she hadn't played with what's-her-name's dad. Exactly. He says, my family thinks I'm prioritizing Tom and Bill over my own niece, that I should be shaming him for abandoning his daughter, and that I'm turning my back on her. But I don't think I am. No, he's not. They're just manipulating him. I also think that Tom deserves some kind of support through all this. I could really use some outside perspective. Is this really a wrong stance for me to take? Or should I back off because my family is right about Tom needing to stick around and shun Bill? No, this guy's doing the right thing. He's sticking with the good guy, the brother-in-law, because the brother-in-law has nobody, okay? The family's obviously sticking with the daughter, this guy's sister, even though she's a piece of trash. Again, the blood is thicker than water thing. And they're going to cast aside this guy who is the good guy and supporter and all that, and he was the one that was mistreated here. Bullshit. Always trust your gut, guys. Your gut says something to do something and it feels right, go with your gut, even if it isn't popular. And oftentimes it's not. And now he provides an update. He says, I'll address a few concerns / questions that popped up before my mini update. He says, yes, Bill knows Jane is his. When Tom got his paternity test done, he and Bill had him go separately to be tested. Why am I letting Tom stay with me? Well, he was family for years. And for me, you don't just chuck family onto the streets except for extreme situations. Right. This guy, he saw him as his brother, not just a brother-in-law, but brother, and he's a good guy, obviously, so he's not going to ditch him. And he says, yeah, in some situations you kick family out to the streets if they deserve it, extreme situations. Yeah, like his sister. He says, divorce takes a year in my state, and Tom is opting to stay to make sure it can be handled quickly and smoothly to get it finalized as soon as possible. That said, he plans on moving back to his home state after that, so I'm letting him stay with me so he can save money for his move and moving expenses. This guy's a really good guy. This is the type of guy every guy would want to be friends with, and I might add, have as a brother-in-law. He says, otherwise, the only places he could afford on his own require 6- and 12-month leases. Supporting Tom and Bill may result in my sister and I having little to no contact. Who cares? She sounds like a complete B word. I'm trying to minimize my language on YouTube, guys. I mean, so what? Number one, she's obviously twisting around making him to be the bad guy for helping out the brother-in-law and taking no accountability and no accountability for her actions and, of course, what she did to her husband. Who cares if you don't talk to her again? Seriously. He says, true. It may, and that'll be our crosses to bear, but I can't find it in me to ignore others needing help just to satiate her and excuse her behavior. See? I still love my sister. Whatever my feelings or opinions of what she did or is doing have no place in this, nor is it any time for me to go expressing them to her. Bill's lawyer says it's very likely Bill will wind up with a custody arrangement, and he has assured me that if things do go south with my sister, that she won't let me see my niece. I'd always be welcome to visit them to see her during his time with her. Yeah, his sister sounds like the type that just to spite him wouldn't let him see his niece because, like, how dare you side with the father, even though, guess what? How dare you side with the brother-in-law after what she did, right? He says, it's not a huge update, but rather surprising. My sister is still being cranky and doubling down, doing all she can to guilt Tom into reconciling and adamant about Bill not being involved because she has a husband that just needs to realize that they can work through this. See, she's trying to get the guy she married, Tom in this story, to come back to her and let her work it all out. Never mind that, I was hooking up with some dude for years. Never mind that he was putting his you-know-what in pretty much every orifice I have. Never mind all that, but we're family, we can get through it, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. He says, Tom is Jane's dad, and Bill is not needed. That's what she's saying. So, meh, there. Last week, I went on a fishing trip with both Tom and Bill for just the three of us to relax and forget all this nonsense for a bit. Holy shit, they're all hanging out and going fishing. Imagine that. See how men can resolve issues and all that? I mean, within reason here. With the women, all the... Once we got back, my mother showed up to try talking to me why I was doing any of this. He says, surprisingly, we had a decent talk after some heated tension. I wound up showing her the post, and while she wasn't happy I was airing our laundry, it helped a bit. Ultimately, I was able to get it through to her that given the circumstances and the high probability Bill is going to be a presence in Jane's life from here on out, the best thing for Jane would be if our family and Bill could at least coexist. And that is trying to act like adults. And the brother-in-law who's telling the story seems to be like the only adult in that entire side of the family. He says, I asked her how she would feel if her granddaughter was constantly having to choose who to spend time with for birthdays, graduation, prom pictures, etc. Or God forbid, we all put her in a position that she would just have to lie to everyone about what she wanted, just not to hurt any feelings. Yeah, that would suck. It took a while, but that seemed to at least get through to her a bit. She's still not happy about the whole situation, but she did agree to a dinner in public place to meet Bill and some of his family, and I'm happy to say that wound up going off really well. And Bill's mother had a good heart-to-heart with her. So, some progress. Thanks again, everyone, for the support. So, that's quite a situation and story. Now, there weren't any further updates beyond that. I'm going to keep an eye on this to see if there's more updates, because it's interesting. But what I like about this story is this guy, even though that this is his sister, he's sticking with the brother-in-law because he knows his sister's trash on multiple levels, and he knows his brother-in-law is a good guy, and he shouldn't just be cast aside because the whole blood is thicker than water nonsense. No, he's sticking with him, and I respect that. He's sticking to his gun, sticking to the right guy, even though it's causing a lot of problems and tension with his family. But at the end of the day, if one's family is a bunch of garbage anyway, then who cares? And his sister probably will be spiteful for a long time. She sounds like that type. But, karma's a bitch, and it'll come back on the sister one way or another. I mean, it already is coming back to haunt her. She's losing her husband, who is the obviously a provider, and if he can get his name off the birth certificate, then legally he doesn't have to provide for the girl anymore, even though he probably will. But interesting story. But guys, at the end of the day, you gotta trust your gut. You gotta trust what feels right to you in situations, even if it's not popular. And I'm sure many of you have been in situations not like this, but other situations in life where you had to make a decision and you were going to piss some people off, but you had to do what you felt was right or do what's best for you. Because, guys, life is short. Unless it can be proved otherwise, we only got one shot here in this world. So you can't just go in life doing everything to make everybody else happy, because you're only going to make yourself miserable, okay? And a lot of people do that, okay? It's not worth it. So, anyhow, guys, I thought that was a good one to go over. That is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.